Okay, let's make turkey stock sage bread. You can do rolls, you can do flatbreads like I did here, any shape you want. What I did was I heated up some turkey stock that I made up to about 125 degrees. We're going to add our instant dry yeast to it. So 125 is a good temperature for that. And olive oil, and I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of sugar as well. One thing is you don't have to do the instant dry yeast, but you can tell if it's dead yeast after about 15 minutes. If it doesn't start to bloom and foam up, then you know you have dead yeast and you got to start over. So with that, about 5 minutes, it should bloom. I actually added in the dried rub sage and the minced onion in there as well while it bloomed to rehydrate that a little bit. It did bloom, so I added my egg, and then I add a little bit of salt. Mix that together. I'll start mixing this by hand too. I find it's best to work it in by hand in the beginning. Then I use the dough hook and I go back to kneading it by hand. Just gets the best feel. I incorporate this in about thirds, half or thirds. I put a good bit in the beginning, and then I slowly add it in because white whole wheat has a different absorption rate than like regular white flour. So I always be careful on how much I add. If you add too much, you got to start playing around with the wet and dry again. So once I get it close, I put it in the mixer and start the kneading process in there. Once I see a good dough ball's formed, it's kind of workable, I'll take that out and put that on the surface, and I'll start working it on the surface and get the consistency right. You want it sticky, but not too sticky where it's like glue. And then you prepare a bowl beforehand, and that way you have a nice bowl ready with olive oil in it. And I'm just going to finish kneading here by hand. Just incorporating some flour here and there and make sure it's right. Once you get that all kneaded, put that back in the bowl. You want to coat the entire surface of that dough ball in the bowl, and then you want to cover it with some plastic wrap and then set it in a warm spot. I usually use somewhere near the stove or the oven, something that I've had on recently. You don't want it to be cold. It just takes longer. It'll still proof, but you want this to double in size. It takes about an hour. You can use a cloth here too. Some people use a kitchen towel. And I'm going to prepare a sheet pan with some oil on it for the next part. And then once it's doubled in size, you punch it down, turn it onto the surface, and then at this point you can do what you want with it. You can make 2 loaves, 4 loaves, 8 rolls, 10 rolls, depends on the size. If you're doing a roll, you don't want to roll it out with a pin like I'm going to do here. I was making flatbreads with it because I was using it for stuffing, but it's the same exact recipe. I made like a medium flatbread. I was just tearing apart for stuffing because I like to have crust on both sides. But here you divide it into 8 to 10 pieces, and you can just form balls and let them proof again, and then you have round rolls. And this is the part you wouldn't do. I did this for the flatbreads. But if you're making flatbreads, this is exactly how you do it. I made 2 big ones too. You can make 4 small ones and get them a little flatter, and they have a little rise to them. You let them sit about 15 minutes to a half hour, and they proof again from the oven to 425 for 8 to 12 minutes. Pay attention to them, and you got yourself one. And you hear the hollow knock on the bottom, you're done and good to go. It turns out great flavor profile, nice color, and very moist.